Live. Good morning. My name is Jay Rothman, and welcome to Real People, Real Stories Raw. It is actually today, I think today is Thursday afternoon in the United States, and I am coming in live. It is high noon on the West Coast. It is 3 p.m. on the East Coast. As I wait for my first guest to jump into the studio, I'm excited to have Amanda Warfield with me. As I mentioned in the marketing piece prior to going live, Amanda Warfield and I met through Jay Shetty's coaching group called the Genius Group just under a year ago. And she reached out to me at some point when I had started an 19-day water fast back in September of 2018. Amanda Warfield reached out to me and became a fast friend of mine, watching me closely as I shared my healing along the 19-day water fast. And we've been friends ever since, paying attention to each other's posts on Facebook and communicating quite often. As I'm waiting for Amanda to jump into the studio, just to give you a little bit of a backstory, I've got two shows today, back to back. It is going to be a marathon, 2 hours of first real people, real stories, and Amanda is going to share about her backstory of having been in a relationship, a toxic, covert narcissistic relationship with her partner married for 19 years, and how and what it took for her to dig out from under the, let's say, the collateral damage of a damaging relationship. And then, and how she is today giving back to other women that have the courage to inspire them to get out, and how to improve their self-value, their self-worth, and go from surviving to living a life of thriving. So that's waiting for Amanda to join me live. And after Amanda, I've got a guest. His name is Evan Mueller. And Evan was introduced to me by Debbie G, founder of Spirituality Gone Wild. And Evan's going to come into the studio. He, I believe today he was traveling about 20 hours, and he's currently residing in the Northwest, I believe Salem, Oregon, perhaps. But he's going to join us. He is a nutrition expert, a Qigong expert, practitioner, and a massage therapist, all rolled into one. But I think he's coming in today to talk about nutrition and how it will and does impact our well-being, our mind, body, and soul. So I've got 2 hours coming up, and as I wait for one or two of my guests to jump into the studio with me, I would like to take a moment to thank you. If you're joining us live, we've got Renee coming in. Good afternoon, Renee. Elda coming in from Inverness, Scotland. Scotland, thank you so much. If you can make sure that I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Alid or Elda, I appreciate that. Renee, if you could share with me, in fact, where you are coming in from. Mary Kelly, I know you are coming in from North Scottsdale, Arizona. And welcome to the studio. As we wait for more from the community to join us, I would like to just take a moment to thank all of you that have helped me up over the last couple of days and supported the work that I am doing along my own healing journey to here we go, to actually heal from a diagnosis and prognosis that they said is incurable. I'd like to just take a moment to thank those of you that have been supporting me and have stepped forward and made a donation to my Facebook fundraiser as well as GoFundMe page. Amanda Warfield, welcome to the studio.
Hi there.
How are you?
Sorry I'm late. It's been a crazy day, so.
Well, it's nice to see you, and I'd like to invite you to take a nice deep breath as we prepare to jump into a conversation. I'd like to do is share. Amanda, we met through Jay Shetty.
Yep.
And initially, I think how we met was I probably posted one of my blogs on Jay Shetty's community, the Genius Group. Right now, there's over 9,000 members in the community that jump in on Sundays if we're live with Jay, or catch him on replay. And he's a coach and mentor. He's a teacher, and he creates space for all of us to learn how to become the best versions of ourselves. So to go from surviving to thriving. But at some point, you caught one of my blogs, and what caught your attention was I was on a 19-day water fast.
You had
And
just started it. You had just started it, and it was one of your very first blogs, and you were talking about, here's what I'm going to do. And at first I thought, what the hell is this? And then I started to get into it, and then I started talking to my own neurologist about you, and I just was like glued, stuck, had to watch, had to pay attention. It was like rooting for you.
thank you so much. I do want to acknowledge one thing is that today, no, we're not making history, but we're pretty damn close. Deb's Deb, who is a community member of the Genius Group. She has been on my show a number of times, and at one point she was co-hosting this particular platform. But I believe you may, in fact, be the second member of the Genius community to have the courage to step forward. I do recall earlier last year, I invited you into the studio to do the show with me.
Yeah.
And at that time, you said you were not ready.
I was not ready.
What changed for you between then and now? I'd love to hear.
Well, when I first started Genius, that was about a year ago. It was August a year ago. So I just got to a point. I had just finalized my divorce from a covert narcissist. And that was a 19-year marriage that was riddled with problems and issues. And I was at a lowest of low points when I started Genius Group. And, you know, I think Jay actually was one of the first people, coach or just person, that really kind of broke through to me and made me start really thinking about what do I want now? Because it had been a 3-year battle with my now ex-husband, and divorce in North Carolina is supposed to take a year. And it took about 3 years. It was 2.5 years from start to finish, from filing to finish. And it was a battle. And it was something that by the time I finished that part of the process, I then had to start healing. And it was a long process, and it involved really changing my mindset and really starting to focus in on things. But Genius Group was one of the first things that really broke through that armor that I had to have on for a good 3 years of just, I was in battle mode. So I was in constant state of stress and upheaval and severe CPTSD issues. I mean, it was just bad. So I was not at a good place. And then I saw your blogs where you were talking about your fast, and I saw what you were dealing with and how you were handling it. And I thought, okay, these people have something to pay attention to. So that is really what kickstarted me on my own healing journey. And it all started with mindset. I had to make a decision, first of all, for myself. I'm going to thrive. And it was a conscious decision that I had to make. It wasn't if it will happen, or I want it to happen, or maybe it will happen. It was, I'm going to do this.
So if I may interject, it wasn't a matter of I'm going to try.
No.
Tell me your experience and your perspective on that word try. Do we try today, or do we just do?
I think a lot of people try. And I think that you have to hit a rock bottom before you realize, oh, that's not going to work. Oh, okay. Oh, I can't just sit here and hope for it. Hope is not a strategy. Hope is a great thing. Hope is not a strategy. You have to use hope as a motivation, but personally, I don't believe in motivation. I think motivation is crap. I think you have to do things. You have to take action, and you have to do more than just sit and hope. You have to do. You have to take actions, and you have to have the right people surrounding you. And that was the first time, really, in Genius Group was the first time I had consciously made a decision around who I was going to have in my inner circle, who I was going to keep close to me, who I was going to involve in my life. And it's not a mean thing. It's just, if you're going to be in my life, we're going to serve each other. I'm going to help you, you're going to help me, and we're going to go this way. We're not going to go downward. We're not going to go down in a downward spiral anymore. And so that was the first time in my life, literally, that I made the decision, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to start here, and I'm going to involve the right people in my life. Right after that, I started going to, I had another coach that was working with me. I just realized I'd been in banking for 25 years in a very successful financial technology career. And I just thought, if I do this anymore, I think I'd rather have my eyes, carved out of my head with a serrated spoon. I can't do this anymore. I have to do something else with my life. This is not for me. And this all started after joining Genius and talking to the likes of you and others, and really starting to look at my life and make decisions for myself, decide, and then take action with decisive intent.
Beautiful.
That's my motive now. That's my motto every day. What are my actions I will take today with decisive intent?
Love it. Love it. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for sharing that, Amanda. What I'd like to do in this moment is, first of all, thank you for joining me, having the courage to step into the studio and share your backstory and how your life has changed. I also would like to invite you to understand that at any time, if I should ask you a question that you are not comfortable answering, in this moment, you could set a loving boundary with me, and I will respect you in the moment, and we'll move on. Also, my intention is to set a very safe environment where you feel secure and at ease in the conversation with me. I don't have interview questions. This is a very free-flowing, organic, loving conversation. This is not a monologue, but a dialogue between the two of us to share our own stories of experience, strength, and hope. Hope that perhaps there's something that you share that one person hears that gives them the inspiration to take whatever steps they need to improve their own life. And so that's why we do what we do today. What I'd like to do is invite you to go back in time and begin to share wherever you would like to begin, your backstory, how it was, and how it is today for you.
Sure. Just for starters, thank you for making me feel safe and welcome. At this point, if you had talked to me 6 months ago, I'd already be in tears talking to you. But I'm now at the point where I've learned to take what I know, what I've been through, and the more open I am, the more people I help. So I'm pretty much an open book. People can ask me whatever, and I'm just going to tell you. So we'll just jump in. But you kind of have to go back to, I'm an Irish Catholic, grew up north in Detroit. I'm very Irish, very loud, very open, very, I'm the eighth of 8. I come from a big family, and, my mom actually had listened to the Pope on the birth control rules. So, yeah, I'm the 8th. That shows you how good that works. So, I'm a renegade, right? Like I take my pills with religious fervor, maybe. So I'm a little different in that mindset. But when I came to North Carolina, because I came down to North Carolina, I came here to go to college because I decided I wanted to be in racing. And so here I was in North Carolina going into engineering and quickly fell in love, and the racing schedule it's not conducive to anything really other than racing. I mean, you don't have time to breathe. So then I'm in North Carolina, I'm by myself, and I find myself in love with this guy that, I met in college, and I just was at a very young, naive point in my life and very insecure. And a lot of that comes into play. And the reason I bring up that mindset is because most people that end up finding themselves in a relationship with a narcissist, whether it's an overt or a covert narcissist, they are in a very insecure and vulnerable state when they meet them. So that's why I kind of bring that up. But segue into, in the end, it ended up 19 years later, I'm the breadwinner. We've moved a few times for my work because I'm keeping up the family. So we've got to go. I've had 2 children. I've had a MS diagnosis. So I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis actually 2 weeks before our wedding. So I'm getting diagnosed with MS, and then lo and behold, I'm hoping I'm going to walk straight when I go down the aisle to get married. Thankfully, I had a big traditional Catholic poofy dress to cover up my legs because nobody else could tell what was going on under there. So I've learned over the years to be very self-reliant, because it was a situation where I had to work. My husband at the time, he was not working. He was taking care of our children. He was a stay-at-home dad, and that worked great. Then you get into, they get older, and he didn't grow with me, if that makes sense. So I was kind of growing along emotionally, which one does when you get married in your 20s, and then you start living life and you start to grow. But I also was having a lot of issues with my MS, and it all was stemming from a large stress situation. I had a very stressful environment at work, but I also had a very stressful environment at home with my now ex-husband, who did not grow with me. Let's just leave it there. The maturity level was just not there. So I'm taking care of children. I'm trying to keep up, the bills. I had this weight of pressure on me that was massive. And so it ended up a situation where along the way you have ups and downs, but mostly downs. I'm not going to lie. And then we ended up back in North Carolina after another move. And we got here, and I ended up in a situation where I started to notice more and more and more of the behavior issues that were happening between my husband's narcissistic behavior that was really starting to show. They have a mask that they wear. And eventually what happens with a narcissist is they lose the mask because they feel safe enough to drop it and just be themselves, which is not a good thing when a narcissist is themselves, because that means you're in devaluation mode. You are devalued completely. So I ended up in a situation where I would go to work a 60, 70-hour week, be coming home, and I was flying out for work, having to fly to Boston or fly here or fly there for work. and then fly home on Friday. And then I would get home and I would be told on an average weekend, it was, well, I need you to help clean. Well, I'm exhausted. I'm an MS patient and I need to lay down. Literally, I need to lay down on the couch and chill. And I would say, let's hire a house cleaner. I'm paying for it. Boom, done. Take the problem away, you know? And the answer was, well, I would just like to see you pick up something every once in a while. Oh, okay. So that was just one little snippet of my day, but multiply that by 10x all day long, all weekend. And then you have my weekend. And then I would turn around and get back on a plane and fly out on Monday and have to go back to work. And then I would come home on Friday and it would all start again. And then I was dealing with multiple affairs, and it just got to a point where I was not functioning as a human anymore. My MS was so bad, I was starting to have serious issues from that. I had my neurologist wheel up to me and get in my face. And he said, your husband is bad for your health. And this is a neurologist that I've known for 20 years. And when they get in your face like that and they've known you that long and they say something that blunt, you have to listen. You know, it ends up to a point where you've got your own physicians in your face. But even then, I still was in a mode of cognitive dissonance, which at the time I had no idea what that meant. I didn't know what that meant until I was in a counselor's office and he told me, you have cognitive dissonance. And I went, what the hell is that? And he said, that is you making excuses for the narcissist in your life that's making your life hell right now. And you're taking behaviors that are affecting you that are clearly not right on any capacity, on any level, they're just wrong. But your mind plays tricks on you and says, well, I did this, and that makes that, you know, understandable. No, it's not understandable. It's bad for your health. It's not okay. Not okay. So you start making excuses for your life and the way it is. And it started affecting me professionally. I started to just lose any level of interest or excitement or happiness, or there was none of that. It was just survival at that point.
Amanda, if I may interject, and by the way, I invite you to take a nice deep breath. Truly, take a nice deep breath and allow yourself just to pause for a moment. Well, I want to ask you at any time in your marriage, especially the early years, was there a sense of intimacy, healthy intimacy between the two of you, or how long did it take until you started to realize that there was something lacking in the relationship?
The minute I started to have to be the financially responsible one, where I was taking on so much of that burden, he kind of saw it as a free card, and his behavior showed it. So that immediately started to affect things. He would be out all night and then come in at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. And I'd be like, what the hell? And then he'd still want to be intimate. And and like multiply that by 20 years and you have my life. It just gets old. It gets old, it gets tired. And you get to a point physically where once you're, your system starts to act up. I mean, my MS was off the charts a few times. And that in turn was another issue, another medical issue affecting things. When you don't have a compassionate person there, you have someone who just expects things from you on a continual basis, and there's no interplay. There's no level of give and give. It's just give and I'm going to take. That is overwhelming.
One of the side topics I'd like to bring up to you is that people drop the word narcissistic
Oh, yeah.
a lot today. And everyone, not everyone, but so many people are busy labeling people in their life as narcissists. It's just like it's a trend right now. I hear it all the time. And a couple of things that I want to share. One is that, do you believe that what he suffers from is narcissistic behavior? Or do you think that at his core, at his soul level, it's just how he was born? Is it a behavioral thing, or is it an emotional behavioral thing, or is it something deeper than that?
I don't think they truly know. I mean, ultimately, I can tell you, I don't think anybody's born that way. I mean, ultimately, everyone has a little bit of narcissistic tendencies in them, or we wouldn't survive. Babies start out extremely narcissistic.
Exactly.
They have to survive. Their whole focus when they're born is, you're going to feed me or I'm going to scream. You're going to change me or I'm going to scream. You're going to, entertain me or I'm going to scream. You're going to cuddle me or I'm going to scream, because that's what I need. And I need to survive. So the only way I know is to scream and let you know I need it, or fuss or cry. But that's very narcissistic ultimately, but that's what they need at that point in their life. But the whole idea is that as we grow, we begin to mature and we learn to regulate our emotions. And that's something true narcissists, because I do agree with you, I think it gets overused as a term. However, what I also think is the level of narcissism, particularly in the US and the UK, I don't know why it's these two continents, but it seems to be the levels of narcissistic personality disorder behavior has grown, and it's becoming more and more pronounced. There are a lot of things they think attribute to that. One is social media. There's a lot of people that use social media not for good, and it's very narcissistic at its core if you think about it. But there's a lot of things in our culture that kind of help coddle that. But I don't think, ultimately, there's one theory where something happens to them when they're a kid. Something happens to people with narcissistic personality disorder where something's happened when they're a child at a certain level, and they just sort of stop maturing beyond that age level. They keep going along and they start, but their emotional handlings don't really graduate to the next level, so to speak.
Right.
It's all about them.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
But I'd like to move forward a little bit in the spirit of time. Believe it or not,
Yeah.
we're half hour into the hour, and ask you as your marriage progressed, I can only imagine how your health was further impacted, probably much worse than initially a couple of weeks before your wedding.
Yeah.
And also the toxicity that was in your home is probably pretty high. What was the last let's say the last straw, the last defining moment that you finally had the courage to leave? And what did that look like for you?
I ended up in the emergency room with stroke level blood pressure. It was 184 over 113 at its highest. And I when I went into the ER, I was by myself. He was on his way to Tennessee to be with his fiance. We'll get to that in a second. Yes, I said his fiance. And I ended up, in a situation where I'm in the ER by myself, and I walked in and said, something's not right. I can't put my finger on it. I just don't feel right. And they were like, get on the bed. The minute somebody in their 40s that's a woman comes in here and says weird stuff like this, you're getting a heart workup. We don't care what you say. And I was like, I'm fine. I'm not getting a heart attack. And they checked my blood pressure and it was already like 164 over something, 98. And they were like, how are you not? You look fine. I went, I'm in banking. I'm in investment banking. I deal with stress all day. This is my normal, right? I was joking with the nurses and they were like, we don't understand why you don't feel worse than you do. I'm a 20-year MS patient. I'm used to feeling like shit and just moving on with my life. That's what I do. And so then I had texted him and said, I need you to come here. They're doing a heart workup. I don't know what's going on. I'm a little nervous. He finally showed up like an hour later and just pouted, sat in the corner, arms folded, mansplaining in a chair. And then he had to go to the bathroom. He got up to go, and the nurse sent him to the bathroom all the way down the hall. And I thought, what's up with that? And then she wrote something on a sticky note and put it in my hospital gown pocket. And I thought, what's that? And I looked and it was a phone number. I said, what's this? She said, that is my ex-husband's divorce attorney. And if I had it to do over again, he would have been mine. She said, your blood pressure shot up to 184 over 113 the second he walked in here. Is he abusing you? And I went, immediately the waterworks were flowing and I couldn't talk. And I said, he doesn't hit me. That was my answer. He doesn't hit me? Really? And I thought, as soon as I said it, as soon as it came out of my mouth, I thought, what is this answer? Where is that coming from? What kind of an answer is that? He doesn't hit me? And I realized at that point, okay, reality check, and I had gone home by myself and I got home and then it was, I'm going to take half an Ambien and force myself to go to sleep because I couldn't. I was in a mess state. So I took half an Ambien and knocked myself out. And I had prayed right before I went to bed. I just, like, it was a violent prayer. It was me supine on the floor, yelling F-bombs at God and saying, you need to fix this because I'm effing done. I'm done. Amen. Kind of a prayer. And went to sleep. Half hour later, my phone went off with a text message. And of course, when that happens, you wake right up. What's this? It was my now ex-husband's person that was going to marry him, in a picture with him saying, please tell me that my investigator, her investigator, is wrong and that my man is not your husband. And there they were. She said he was going to have my children. We were going to have a family. So I called her and I immediately told her, I forgive you. Before we say anything else, you need to know I forgive you because you clearly did not know. Yeah, that's my husband in that picture with you. I hope your beach trip was nice. And I was already angry from the ER and it just moved on from there. And once in my mind, it's funny how, they talk about the law of attraction and really deciding and submitting to your decision. And just once I did that, it seemed like life just started to click along. Like, okay, yeah, I'm done. This means I am done. Decision made. And she ended up my witness. Who has their husband's fiance as a witness in your divorce case? Who has that? Not normal, but that was my life. So I ended up in a situation where once I made that decision, yeah, it took me 20 years to get there. A lot of Irish Catholic hangups about divorce, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to work through it. Once I made that decision, it was done, and it was going to happen. So again, action with decisive intent. And I just started to slowly take a step each day and keep my life moving forward. But once I got through all of that, I wanted to help other people, because what I've done in the past decade, the things I've learned about narcissism, the things I know about corporate America, the things I know about mindset, I wanted to combine all of that. So I left corporate America and became a life coach and put it all together to help other people in the same position who are dealing with their own narcissistic, toxic situation where they're stuck, because I've been there and I don't want people to be stuck. I want to help them. So I've moved forward.
Amanda, I want to just interject here for a moment. Someone in our community, Elizabeth Lynn Johnson, has shared, same thing is going on with me. And she just acknowledged that she just left like 3 weeks ago. In this moment, if we may shift gears, I'm going to invite you to share something that perhaps maybe will help Elizabeth along her journey in this moment. What could you say to her that may give her
I would say congratulations for getting to the point where you want to make that decision, because that's the hardest step. Making that decision, okay, I'm going to leave. This is going to happen. It's scary as hell and it's hard. And you are at a point when you're in a narcissistic situation, you are emotionally, physically, spiritually, just on all levels, you are low.
spent?
You're done. And so I would say take some time for you. For starters, don't do anything. Take time for you. Take a week or two where you are simply about self-care, where you are not worrying about anything else. And that narcissist, just because you've left, does not mean they're not going to be in your life. They're going to make your life hell right now because you left. So you're going to have to go no contact as much as possible. Now, I know there are situations like mine. I had children. I couldn't go complete no contact. But the bottom line is narcissists do not change. And anybody who tells you that they will change, you need to distance yourself, because the reality is there is no known case of someone with narcissistic personality disorder actually changing. They will put on a good show and put on that mask and make you think a lot of things, but they do not change because they are an empty vessel and they require constant attention, adoration, and energy, and they're going to get it from you in one way or another. If they're in contact with you, they're going to get your energy, either positively or negatively, but they're going to get your energy. So you have to go no contact. I would say go no contact for right now, as much as you possibly can. No phone calls, text messages only. but make a text message, because honestly, you need a record of any conversations you have, because they will gaslight you. They will triangulate situations. They will start to project things onto you. You need to create a barrier between you and that toxicity. And you need to focus on you right now. So that would be my immediate.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Amanda. How long has it been since your divorce was finalized now?
It has been officially a year and 3 months.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
How has your life changed since your divorce?
I started my own coaching company. My health has vastly improved. My MS is in check, under control. And right now I have one medication that I have twice a year, every 6 months. That's it. And I mean, I take a multivitamin every day. That's it. That's all I've got. So I'm not having to focus on that right now. And my blood pressure, completely normal. It's back down. It's actually 120/70, which is nice.
Beautiful. Yes.
So, I don't have any blood issues anymore. I had a 37-day migraine at one point. I never get migraines. During this throes of that stress, I had a 37-day migraine with 8 days in the hospital. They were testing me for everything under the sun, stroke, what are all the things you can get? I mean, they were testing me for everything. I had 2 spinal taps. They were testing me for everything.
Amanda, where do you see the correlation between your toxic relationship with your ex-husband today and your health? Why was there a connection there?
Because it all stopped when he was out of my house. Like literally a week after I was in the ER with 184/113, I had, with no meds, a normal blood pressure. That's not, you can't argue with, like,
right.
It's
data. Proof. It's data. It's right there. It's in writing.
Yeah.
I love that. How would, from the perspective of you mentioned the physical shifts, the healing that's taken place. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go to the emotional part. However, before I go there, I do want to suggest that I'd like to introduce you to a woman who I had on my other show called Real People, Real Health. I actually co-hosted that show with Kelly Gores from Heal Documentary, the filmmaker. And okay. Emma Romano came in from the UK, and she self-healed from MS. And I'd like to introduce you to Emma and on a private messenger group, the two of you, and see if she is able to. I don't know if you even caught the show or not, but it's available in the archives on my site, healmindbodysoul.com. But if you haven't seen it, I would suggest start there and then see what she has done, because she has affirmed that she is healed of MS. She no longer has any symptoms. And I would love to gift you.
It. I totally believe it. I mean.
So let's get you healed. Let's get you 100% healed. Okay. In this moment, I'd like you to share from an emotional standpoint, not how being in a relationship had affected you, because we have a pretty good idea, but how do you feel you are emotionally and spiritually today on the back end of a 19, 20 year, 2 decades of a toxic relationship?
Yeah. I mean, my confidence level just in the past year has grown by leaps and bounds. And, if I had tried to start my own company, be an entrepreneur, like 10 years ago, it would have crashed and burned, because not only did I not have support, I had negativity, constant negativity. You can't do that. You can't do this. You can't do that. And you believe it. you start to believe that, and you believe what that negative voice is saying about you. And when you hear that for 2 decades, you start to believe it. No matter what you do, no matter what you accomplish, you don't think you're capable. You don't think you can do anything. And you just kind of go along in this hamster wheel of life, doing and saying and just, doing the things you've always done because that's what you know. And it's familiar. I mean, the human brain is not set for doing anything that's going to make you uncomfortable. The human brain, and this just comes from 20 years talking to my neurologist, he's like, its whole goal is to make you comfortable. That's the whole point. So when you have 2 decades of negativity, you believe it, and that affects you physically, emotionally. You begin to think and believe that you can't. Everything comes from a place of no in your life. Everything. Well, I can't do that. I don't know why I would want to try this. It's not even an I will try. You don't even say I will try. You say I can't. Everything I can't. I'm just going to do what I know, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and deaden myself yet a little bit more. So now, in the past year, it was, well, sure, I could start a new company. Why not? Has it been painful at times? Absolutely. I've had moments where I've had like $150 in my checking account and going, what the am I going to do now? Oh my God. But then, then you get 2 clients, or you figure it out. So you get
Whoa. Hold on right there.
Yeah.
I don't think we figure it out. I think that the universe shows up at
Well, there you go.
at 11:59 p.m.
Yeah.
1 minute before midnight, it shows up. The universe shows up, and whatever you need comes in at that moment. Now, it's not necessarily what we want it to be or what we think we need.
Right.
It's not necessarily what we want, but it's maybe what we need.
Yeah.
And therein lies where we have a choice in life. We either can live in the same breath. We cannot live in fear or faith. We're either in one space or we're the other. And that's one of the tools that I use every morning when I'm on my spiritual practice, what I call, it's my hike where I'm in meditation, prayer, song. And I do a mantra for myself when I'm in that space where may go to a dark thought of fear of something that hasn't happened yet. And I just go, faith, not fear. And it's a mantra. I just keep saying over and over and over again. It's a biohacking tool that I use to shift my mindset in that moment from fear thoughts to knowing that no matter what, God's got my back.
Yeah.
It's a game changer.
Well, that's exactly what over the past year, that's what I've slowly done is change my habits, change my focus. I meditate every day. When I go to bed at night, Jay talks about gratitude, and I've made that my practice. Before I go to bed, I think of 3 things I'm grateful for from that day. But I also think of 3 things that I'm grateful I have the ability to do the next day. And then when I get up, I'm already thinking of those 3 things I was thinking of the night before for the next day. So I wake up in a good mood, and I already know what I'm going to do because I started thinking about it the night before, and I'm happy. And I go about my day, and I do those 3 things, and I try to tackle all 3. And if I get more done, hey, great. If I only get 2 done, okay, fine. But I got 2 out of the 3. But I try to keep that attitude of gratitude moving and rolling along, so that I'm on a different hamster wheel now. It's a much more pleasant one. So, I try to keep my mindset in a much more positive place. And that affects the actions that I take every day.
Beautiful.
And, I don't have days anymore where I just am feeling completely drained and exhausted and completely put out with life to the point where I just want to go lay down. I don't have that anymore. I may need to take a nap, but you know what? That's okay.
That's
Because
self-care.
wake up in a good
Self-care
mood.
means taking a nap and you wake up with an alarm set for 30 minutes or an hour.
Yeah.
But living in a space of duvet therapy it does not serve us, because our body has been engineered and built to be moving.
Right.
If we're laying in sorrow and self-pity and pain, we are surviving. And
Yeah.
I have learned through my own healing journey of when I hit my rock bottom is that I choose to no longer just survive. I am here to thrive.
Yeah.
But it takes action steps. It takes building emotional muscle. We're
Yep.
not taught that in most homes, a GPS or a roadmap or a blueprint to navigate from surviving to thriving. With what time would you have left, I'd like to ask you, is Jay Shetty your only coach and mentor, or do you have other resources that you reach out to on a daily basis to continue your own healing journey?
No, I mean, Jay is definitely, from a healing perspective, he's my guy. I mean, the Genius Group has been instrumental to me from a business perspective, and from a, it's still a life perspective, because my business is now taking my message and putting it out there to as many people as possible and helping coach others. So putting the shape around that and putting that into play, I've been very involved with Ted McGrath and his group. And so they are instrumental. Between
Beautiful.
Jay and Ted, the two of them have been extremely instrumental to me. But
Beautiful.
I also have, on my business, banking side, I also am very involved with Dean Graziosi and his inner circle. So I just have all of those kind of flavors that I'm touching and
You have your
pulling.
go-tos, and that's what we create is, I've created my own go-tos depending on what I'm looking at, what my challenges are, and who I know that can help lift me up when I need that moment of inspiration. I've got my go-tos also. It's not one person, it's not one podcast, it's not one YouTube video, it's not one book. It's a plethora. It's like it takes a village, they say. And but the village doesn't just show up. We have to put ourselves out there. We have to have the courage. As I say to my clients, you have to want it for yourself more than I want it for you.
Yes.
And that's when the healing begins. That's when we begin the journey of inspiring others and leading them to a life that they never thought was possible. Because I could tell you, when I hit my rock bottom, I was living to die.
Yeah.
And I was doing everything I could do to speed up the process of being taken out, because I was in so much pain. I didn't have a roadmap and I didn't know where to begin. And I was living in fear of making changes, how it would impact my family members that I was in a home with. The difference today is that I'm no longer living to die. Today, I wake up every single day dying to live.
Yeah.
And it's such a difference. It's like going from surviving to thriving. Now, it doesn't just happen as we described today. It only happens because we don't try. It happens because we do.
I can remember the first day I woke up and I just was in a good mood. And I actually was panicked, like something's wrong, And I immediately was like, what's wrong with me? And one of my friends, I had some friends that I had staying here. They needed help. They were moving from another state to North Carolina. And I was like, just stay here. I have extra room. I have one kid going to college. We have room. Just come here. And so thankfully they were here with me. I said, I don't know what's wrong. And she said, okay, slow your roll. You're, newsflash, in a good mood. And I went, what? She went, yeah, that's what most people that are in a good space wake up and feel like. And I know this is not normal for you, but just, you're going to have this happen more often than not now.
Beautiful.
And
Isn't
I
that,
thought,
isn't that amazing?
oh, that's what it is. Okay. So, it
Yeah.
was very strange. It was a foreign feeling to me because I was used to waking up with that doom cloud already hanging over my head and thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen today? Oh my God. So, it was a
Yeah.
very strange feeling.
Yeah. It's two things that come to mind. One is that I realized in the last 12 months that when I was a child and when we were children, for example, most of us, not every day, but there were many days where we would wake up with a sense of excitement for the day, especially around holiday season, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever the holidays you may,
Yeah.
New Year's, Thanksgiving, all the holidays. And sometimes for me, every summer, I'd wake up with a sense of excitement. And I realized one day I had this moment of clarity that it had been so many years, so many decades that I had forgotten what it felt like to wake up renewed with
Yeah.
a sense of excitement, not knowing what was going to truly unfold in any given day, but ready and prepared to receive it.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful way to live today. And so, yeah, I acknowledge, I resonate with what you just shared. We are just about at the hour, and I would like to invite you to put a pretty bow in a show and close us out with some closing words that perhaps somebody in this community needs to hear right now. There's been a very active comments, and I would like to invite you at some point in the next day or so to go back, watch the show on replay, because it's going to be a growth opportunity for you. And also to reply and share some of your thoughts on the comments that have been shared by some incredibly vulnerable women that have stepped forward to share their truth as we have conversed today.
Sure.
And again, one more thing, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
having the courage to step in. How has this experience been for you today, Amanda?
I'm relieved. I know that sounds funny, but I am trying at this point to get my message out as many places as possible, to reach as many people as possible, because there are people out there that need to hear that and need to have an opportunity to do something about their situation. I want them to be able to make the decision to move forward with their lives, but have somewhere to go and people to help them. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm relieved.
It's a good place to be, and I just would like to thank you again for coming in. As far as your closing words to anyone that perhaps finds himself either in the throes of a dysfunctional, toxic relationship or in the throes of having had the courage to step out.
Sure. All I know is where I was. And if you're in that place where you're waking up every day, and particularly when you're dealing with a narcissistic, toxic person, they do things to make you feel like you're losing your mind. They will get you to question your own reality. I want you to stand firm in your truth. And I want you to think about that and think about doing something. Start taking action for yourself. And, for everyone out there listening to this, if you end up in a situation where you don't know what to do, there are options. I can help you with that. Just reach out to me. We have a website. We are on Facebook for Thriving Lifecraft. So you definitely can get to us. The website is thrivinglifecraft.com. You can just PM me personally. We will help you, but you have options. You're not stuck. I don't want anybody to feel stuck. I want you to know that if you don't know what to do next, we'll help you figure it out. But you're not stuck and you are capable. You do have personal value, no matter what that person, that toxic person, tries to make you believe about yourself. And once you get out of that situation where you have a moment for some clear and free thinking, you're able to realize just how much value you do possess. And we can help you put the shape to that. You can craft your own future, your own narc-free future, and you can thrive. So it's not, your situation doesn't have to end with that. You can craft your own life. Have freedom, fulfillment, and abundance, and thrive.
Thank you, Amanda. I close my eyes sometimes and I take a deep breath because I want to receive the words, not at the mind level, but at my soul level.
Yeah.
So that I could really feel it throughout my body. And I want to, again, thank you and honor you for having the courage to step into the studio, to step forward and to share your story, your truth, your reality, and to congratulate you on how much progress you have made in the past year. And
yeah, you've seen me at my worst. I mean, last August, I was not the best person to talk to at any given moment.
But you showed up for yourself and you believed that it was possible. And no matter how dark the moments may have seemed, you had the courage to get in and do the work for yourself and show up and invest. Because there's not a more important investment than yourself, so that you can now become service to others.
That's a good point. I mean, I had to change my mindset on everything, that costs too much, that cost. I had to start looking at my life and going, what am I investing in today? I'm going to make this investment in me, and I'm going to apply this to my own life here. And I'm not just talking money, time, your energy, your attention. It's all an investment. If
Beautiful.
it's done the right way, if you're well placed, with your energies, then it's an investment.
What I'd like to do, Amanda, is extend an invitation to you to come back in the future to do another show. And the next show, I'd like to focus a little bit on how your children are doing, how the breakup has impacted them. We didn't go there today because today was really focusing on your journey, your experience. But I'd like you to come back in the studio and pick up this conversation right where we were leaving off. Talk a bit about your children. I also would like to have you spend a lot of time talking about the business that you have created, not for yourself, but for other women and or men that perhaps maybe.
Yeah, I do have male clients.
Beautiful.
I do.
Yes. I'd like you to come in and share the type of work you're doing and some of the strategies, some of the things that you coach your clients along with so that they can create a new life for themselves. And I think it's important enough to have you back in if you're willing to accept the invitation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Well, at this point, Amanda, you're welcome to jump off if you need to go. I know it's 4:07 your time back in Charlotte, the Carolinas. I'm about to transition into, this is marathon hour number 2. We're going to switch from real people, real stories to, I believe we're going to go real people, real health. And we're going to have Evan Mueller join us in the studio now. He is a nutrition guru. He is a master massage therapist and Qigong. And I bet he's got a whole bunch of other skill sets that he's going to share with us today. And so thanks again for joining me today on Real People, Real Stories, Raw.
Thanks. I'm going to have to jump on later and watch this, though, because he sounds really good. I'm going to have to listen to that.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Amanda. As I wait for Evan to join us, Evan Mueller is going to be coming into the studio in a moment here. Give me a moment while I send him a quick text and let him know. If you were watching the show with us, I'd like to thank you for joining. He says he's on, but I am not seeing him. It says ask you to start your audio, start your video. Evan, no, not seeing you. Just go ahead and do what you were doing a moment ago, and maybe that'll work.
Hello? Hello?
You are on. Now I've got your audio, but what I don't see is your camera. Could you check one of your settings?
Yeah. Oh, maybe this.
I'm going to do is I'm going to pop you out.
Okay.
And then if I could bring you back in here.
Maybe that'll work. There we go. It is because I had the other camera pulled up trying to get the view I wanted.
Evan Mueller, welcome to the studio. It's a pleasure to meet you. This is an impromptu. You were supposed to be live today in Cup de Grata with Debbie G, the co-founder of Spirituality Gone Wild. And she reached out to me this morning. She said, hey, Jay, can you step into the studio and go live with Evan? And so here we are. And she gave me a brief synopsis as to who you are, what you do, and how you do it. But welcome to the studio. I believe right now you are in transition or in flow or movement. Are you in Salem, Oregon at this moment?
Yeah, I'm in Salem, Oregon. Yeah, just got here like an hour ago.
Where did you come in from?
I drove from San Diego. I travel around with a Qigong seminar called Qi Revolution, and we do 13 cities a year. I actually just drove from Fort Lauderdale to San Diego. We did our weekend show, and now this weekend we're going to be doing a show in Salem, Oregon. Next weekend we'll be in Linwood, Washington. What
is Qigong for those that may not be familiar with it?
Qigong is a ancient Chinese movement practice. It combines breath, movement, and meditation. So Qi is the vital life force energy or the breath, and Gong is discipline or merit or control. So it's breath control, very similar to pranayama and yoga. The difference is that in yoga, the pranayams are typically done in a seated position, and in Qigong, you'll be standing, and it's maybe a little more flowy, like the asana stretching of yoga.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I was introduced to Qigong when I was towards the back end of living in Huntington Beach. Yes, I got affirmation. I did a couple of classes out at a park that one of our neighbors, our dear neighbors, Virginia Wells, invited us to attend with her. And that's how I got introduced to it. It's a very, very gentle form of stretching and finding balance within. And I enjoyed it for the few times that I did it.
There's some forms that are very hard, very yang style. There's different styles for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your backstory. I know Debbie said that you were coming in to have a nice conversation about nutrition and how nutrition impacts our life, if I understood her correctly.
Oh, to be perfectly honest, I wasn't so sure what we were going to talk about. I thought we were just going to banter about, fun topics and stuff like that. Nutrition definitely gets pulled along with traditional Chinese medicine and Qigong. And at the Qi Revolution, we do a huge segment of food healing. And Jeff Primack, the founder of Qi Rev and Supreme Science, he has this great book called Conquering Any Disease. And it outlines hundreds of different foods and the healing molecules, and it actually quantifies the amount. So let's see. All right, so like capsanthin, which is in red bell peppers, there's about 22 milligrams for every 100 grams of red bell pepper. And capsanthin is a carotenoid that's been shown in many studies to be great at quenching free radicals, donating electrons to you, helping slow down the oxidative process, and helping a lot of things like or your eyes or things like that.
How did you get into Qigong? How did you learn about it initially?
Massage. I'm a nationally certified therapeutic body worker. I practice over 20 different types of massage modalities. I'm a craniosacral therapist. I do myofascial work. And, along with all of that, I got into healthy eating. I got into yoga. I got into Qigong. Yeah, I like all that stuff.
Were you always on that path, or what was the defining moment for you that introduced you to this new lifestyle? Because this is not a typical lifestyle for most American modern men. It is for many, but the majority not so. Were you born this way, or what was the defining moment that changed your life?
Well, I think we're all born this way, and maybe some things happen with society that kind of steer us in a different direction. I was blessed enough to live in Desert Hot Springs, Sky Valley, outside of the Palm Springs area, in between Joshua Tree and Palm Springs. My dad had a 10-acre property. We had a bunch of fruit trees and stuff. So I always grew up on picking my fruit and going in the backyard and having some berries, and there was always some fresh dates. It doesn't mean that my parents were really that healthy, though. I was definitely brought up on the SAD diet, the standard American diet, which is pretty much fast food and soda.
Oh, I love that. I never heard of that referred to that way, the SAD diet.
Yeah, the standard American diet. That's the official name for it. It's what they use in like medical journals and stuff. Standard American diet. SAD.
So tell me more about that. What was that like for you growing up in a SAD diet?
I was a energetic kid with a lot of imagination and a lot of space to go run around in the desert and just be a kid. So it didn't matter that I watched television or played some video games or anything like that. I still went out and walked about a mile to get to the only other kid that was in the middle of the desert, and would pick up sticks and be like in my own imaginary world, having a lot of fun. So I don't think the television or games stunted me at all. Maybe actually inspired my imagination more, I believe, a lot of the times. But so how did I get into all of it? I do know that living on the orchard and making my own lemonade since the age of 4 was a big thing, being able to go pick my own pumpkins and watermelon. But we definitely went through some tough times. my dad is a fantastic person. He built the first 3 houses he lived in. The house I grew up in was really just marvelous, but we didn't have a lot of money, and he was a dumpster diver. Now that actually came with plenty of benefits because he knew that the food was good, and we had all different types of, I don't want to say great, healthy food, but maybe like top shelf food.
Wait a minute. Hold on a minute. That sounds like a total
Oxymoron.
Oxymoron. That's how I interpreted that. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys that are digging in a dumpster, typically they're not. I mean, are you telling me, if I may paraphrase you, your dad had a skill set, and he knew which dumpsters to dive into?
Oh yeah.
He went into the restaurants that were rated 4 and 5 star. Is that what I'm hearing?
No. He would just go to the grocery store, and so I learned how to cook when I was really young. The first thing was like cinnamon toast, of course. Put some butter on toasted bread, cinnamon toast. There you go. And it's all uphill from there.
Nobody was making cinnamon toast 10, 20 years ago. This is a relatively new fad, new trend.
Yeah. And then just as an example, when I was 5, I woke up for Christmas one morning and our whole living room was just filled with toys. And just because he went to some place and pulled a bunch of toys out of the dumpster. So, I mean, so one person's trash is another person's treasure.
Yeah. Who do you think taught your dad that skill set?
He was a rebel, and he taught it to himself for sure. Definitely, he was the black sheep of the family. He was a big troublemaker. Would ride around town on dirt bikes, and dropped out of school really young because he was great at construction and was in the construction business forever. So he was just kind of a trailblazer, I would say.
Okay. Where was your mom in all of this?
So my dad and my mom, they were never really together.
Okay.
They were friends. They hung out at parties and stuff. She's a wonderful person. She lived in Spokane, Washington. And I would get to visit her on occasion. She was a very, very wonderful mother, even over long distance. And then I also had a stepmother or have a stepmother, and she's my mom, and I address her as such. And she's wonderful. So I'm blessed with 2 wonderful mothers and 2 pretty awesome fathers, but they can be absent at times.
What does that mean for you? What does absent mean?
Get into the drugs and not very present or aware in life, and maybe adrenaline junkies, coming with their own past baggage and stuff like that. So yeah,
how does that impact you today?
I take it as I had great times with both my fathers. They taught me how to ride motocross, jet skis, how to build things. I learned a lot of construction techniques. I think they brought me up pretty well, but after I got out of high school, they both just kind of disappeared. Really, my stepfather, I'm not even sure if he's still alive. And my father's having gambling issues and drug issues and things like that. And bless his heart, he still is, a hard worker. So how did that impact me? I decided from a very young age that the things that I didn't like, I wouldn't do. So they gave me prime examples of how I would want to be. They showed me what not to do.
Wow. That's so powerful what you just shared, Evan, because, oh, by the way, my youngest son, I've got 3 boys. My youngest son is Evan. So
hold on one moment.
Sure. While we're waiting for Evan to step back in on the camera, I'd like to welcome those of you that have joined me for the second show, Real Men, Real Talk Raw. Let's call it that. Simon Gonzalez III, thank you for joining me this afternoon. Stan Palaskis is actually a Burger King franchisee, has been a client and friend of mine for decades. I met Stan when I was, my God, I had to be 21 years old, already in the restaurant design business. And he was one of my first clients from the New England state of, I think Stan was out of Connecticut, if I recall. It's been a long time, but Stan, thank you for joining me. Amanda Warfield, who was just in on our last show in the past hour. Thank you for joining us. Charlene Lovegrove, good to see you. Jackie Lunday, thank you for joining us. Of course, Mary Kelly, my angel today. She is with us in the studio. She is listening in the community, I should say. Maggie Still, thank you for being here. Debbie Garcia, Bill Smith, thank you for joining us from back. I believe you live in Indiana. Bill Smith and I have been in the restaurant industry for about 3 decades plus. So thank you for stepping back in. And at any time, Evan, if I should ask you a question that you're uncomfortable answering, would love you could set a loving boundary, and I will respect you for that. I don't have a set of questions. I don't write things down. It's just an organic flow of love and kindness that is why I'm here today, is to share it with others that are willing to step in and just show up as the most vulnerable, authentic self and share their backstory. And hopefully somebody will hear something that they need to hear that will impact change in their life. And so I love what you just said, that, so many millions of children, their teachers and mentors are their parents. And if their parents are in pain and they are misusing food, alcohol, drugs, sex, smoking, work, gambling, shopping, we could just keep going on and on with addictions. They tend to follow in their parents' footsteps. You just said, if I may paraphrase you, that you chose a different path for yourself.
They showed me a way. I would rather say that they showed me a way that I want to be rather than a way I don't want to be, So, because I like to come from that space. So it showed me that, I would want to talk with my kids more. I don't want to get into meth. So what do I want to do? I want to talk to my kids. I want to eat healthy foods. I want to do breathing practices, get the natural high, maybe sing songs, that gives a huge endorphin rush.
Wow.
So,
do it every morning, my friend. Every morning when I'm out, I do a 365, meaning I don't take a day off. Every morning I'm out for my own spiritual practice. I hike the mountains of North Scottsdale, and I'm in song, I'm in music, nice. I'm in prayer, meditation, nature bathing, grounding, earthing, but I sing out loud. And
song
the magic
is a powerful healing modality.
Tell me more about that. How does song impact your life, and what type of songs do you tend to gravitate towards?
Well, I was in choir from a really young age. When I was in elementary school, I was scouted and taken to the high school and Palm Springs and sung with high school students while I was in elementary school and was doing solos then. Always did solos in high school. I fell out of the choir scene when I entered high school in Las Vegas. There was a lot of family issues that were going on. And at the time, I didn't realize that. So the way that family psychology works is if there's like a broken spot in the family, and I think the analogy is typically the family's a bike. All right. Let's say that there's a broken pedal. All right. And the parents start fixing their issue, but they're not fixing the family issue. One of the children will take on that broken piece. So, as they started, my dad went to jail and my stepmom went to rehab and all of that, I started taking on a lot of the broken responsibility because that's what held the family together. And then when I left the family split apart because that piece was no longer there.
I like how you use that analogy. I could tell you, I never had a broken pedal per se, but I did wear out a set of tires on my 7-speed beach cruiser along Huntington Beach bike path when I hit my rock bottom back in 15 and started pedaling to heal my own mind, body, and soul. Not only did I wear out tires, but for some reason I started to break spokes. But I had never done that before because I never really had committed to self-care. So I never had the experience of wearing out spokes on a bike. But I remember being along a bike path and realizing that my tire with a broken spoke was no longer able to, let's say, perform in a healthy way in peak performance.
Yeah.
And the more miles I'd ride with one spoke broken, my tire would start to lose its shape. And at some point, it was no longer, no matter how I compensated for the loss, I was unable to control the direction at which I was on this path, if I may metaphorically use this description. And at some point, I had to be willing to just surrender and accept the reality that I needed to fix. I needed to repair the wheel. And
Yeah.
sometimes I had to be willing to just give it up, like turn it over and buy a new one and start over.
Yeah. And then diving deeper into the questions about what kind of songs do I like. When I was growing up, I was really into alternative rock music. I still am today, but I've definitely brought into just so many different genres and, acoustic, and I really appreciate classical. And then I sing a lot of mantra as well. I probably know 50 different Sanskrit mantras. So,
Well, for those that may not be familiar with that, could you expand a little bit? What is that type of mantra? What is it exactly?
Mantra is a phrase that you would repeat a lot of times. Traditionally, it's a phrase that you repeat to some type of energy or deity. And it's really a form of honor and being humble. And it's very, very beautiful. Like, I'll just share one really quick. It's one that I say every single morning.
I was going to ask you just that, if you would be willing to sing one.
Yeah. So
more.
I'll give the translation first. I'll speak it and then I'll sing it. All right.
Okay.
And of course, these things, they come from Sanskrit. So we're translating into English. There's plenty of ways to translate it, but this is an authentic one that I kind of formulated myself. So, lead me away from the unreal. I choose to be honest. Lead me away from negativity. I choose light. Lead me away from death. I choose life. So, asatoma sadgamaya, tama soma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om asatoma sadgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, mrityoma amritam gamaya. So this is an oath to the self, to myself, that I will be an honest person. I will be a positive person. I will do something good for life today. I think it's a good way to wake up.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. I thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me share.
So you're so welcome, Evan. I'd like to invite you to maybe talk a little bit about nutrition and how nutrition has changed your life. Because you earlier said in the segment that you grew up in a home where your dad was a junk food addict to an extent.
Pepsi all the time. and cereal. Lots and lots of cereal.
And so you don't think cereal is good for you?
That's
a setup question.
I enjoy to partake in some cereal every once in a while, but no, I don't think that that's what your staple of your diet should be. You know, luckily we didn't just eat all that. You know, we did have all these fruit trees and a lot of other things. So I was brought up pretty well on food. And sometime around high school, I just noticed that soda wasn't making me feel good. And I was always a really big water drinker. I live in deserts. I went from desert hot springs to Las Vegas. So, you know, you got to stay hydrated, and soda just doesn't cut it. You know, you start getting dry and sluggish and just doesn't feel good. Maybe it gives you some type of mucus or something. So I noticed drink more water. And then
how much water do you drink a day, by the way?
You know, it varies. At least 64 ounces a lot of the times. Sometimes less than that if I'm being really busy and I don't have water around myself. But typically I down the water. I've been known to drink as much as a gallon in a day easily. I think I've gone through a gallon and a half before. But let's see. So, you know, around that time, 2005 to 2008, you know, the economy was doing really well. So we were eating pretty good at that time. A lot of steak, a lot of crab, and a lot of different vegetables. There's always vegetables. But then I moved out and I had to start taking responsibility for my own diet. And at first, you know, I wouldn't say it was necessarily unhealthy, but I definitely have always treated myself well. If I want something, I'm going to go get that. So if I want the best beef jerky, I would go get the best beef jerky. You know, if I wanted the organic milk, I'd get the organic milk. And that's just how I was, and how I still am today. Only now it's my choices are a lot more honed in, and I know what I'm eating and why I'm eating and what I'm eating it for. This really happened with massage therapy. I was massaged by a friend for like 10 minutes one day after work, and I was just like, wow, that was great. Let me massage you. And I ended up massaging her for an hour and a half. Drove over to Borders, got myself a little $5 massage encyclopedia, little tiny book, had all these different massage modalities in it, had some yoga, had some Qigong in the back of it. And the book had a lot of emphasis on like self-care. If you're going to be a massage therapist, you have to take care of your body. I mean, you'll just fall apart really quickly. The life expectancy of a massage therapist is about 5 years. And then they move on to another job.
Because they get burned out, and they're physically.
They get burned out, their hands, their joints, their wrists. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but I was taking anatomy and was like, wow, I really got to give my body the best fuel imaginable. Started eating a lot more fruit, a lot more vegetables. And then I got out of massage school. I'm nationally certified. I've gone to some craniosacral classes, and I'm deepening my education. And I got this, there's this flyer at my massage school about getting to know your energy, and it was for Chi Revolution. And I was like, oh, I like Qigong. We've been doing it in school. I've been practicing it in the book. And while I was in massage school, I formulated my own little practice that I was doing every single day. I was doing 7 different stretches, and then I was doing some Qigongs, and then I would meditate and maybe do some prayer. And at the same time, I'm reading like 2 books by Ken Wilber. I read Food of the Gods and Alex Gray's Mission of Art. And I was diving deep into some other philosophy books. And then, of course, all of the other massage books the school was having us read. And while I was in school, I was already taking continuing education with craniosacral therapy. So I had to read all of those books too, which those are not easy books to read. They're medical textbooks practically. Chi Revolution. I go there. Jeff Primack totally blows my mind away with the food knowledge. And I was just enamored by the whole practice and the food healing and how digestible the information was. He makes it so easy for the lay person to figure out how to make their own diet rather than trying to fit themselves into the box of like a keto diet or a vegetarian diet. Even like that, his information isn't like, oh, you have to eat this and these are the only things that you can eat. It's this is what's in this food. This is what's in this food. And if you have this disease, if you have this ailment, you might want to eat these foods to help with that. So to be perfectly honest, my diet is mainly focused around his information, traditional Chinese medicine, and Ayurveda. And all of that just came along with massage.
Beautiful. What does a typical day or a couple of days look like for you from a nutritional perspective? What do you consume and how much do you consume?
Well, that varies because sometimes I don't mean to, but sometimes I go like 20 hours without eating, and that's just because I'm busy and then I eat a really big meal. Let's see, I cook a lot. I make a lot of Indian dishes. Make really great salads. I drink smoothies almost daily. Vegetable smoothies. Yep, there you go. Yeah. I juice a little bit, but juicing is not my focus. The phytochemicals, the healing molecules, they're attached to the plant fibers. So when we're juicing, we're ejecting out so much of the nutrients. And yeah, you're getting some of the colors and the pigments in the juice, and Gerson therapy is great. And I'm not telling people not to juice, but there's so much sugar in juice. And I'm a sugar junkie, but you need all of the other fibers to help get it processed through.
What's your perspective of buying a juice in a bottle versus making your own juice or a smoothie at home? What's the difference, and if so, why?
Okay, so oxidation happens really, really quickly, and buying juice that's been put inside of a bottle, I would say a good amount of it has already oxidized. You really want it as fresh as possible. And there's chromatography photos of when you pick fruit off of a tree and look at it like right when you've picked it, and then a week later, and you can see like the photons or the lights that are coming off of it. I think David Avocado Wolf does that with his friend. Yeah, so fresh is better.
Okay.
You don't want, and especially with smoothie, like you can't put your smoothie inside of a refrigerator. Smoothies start going bad almost immediately because you've micronized everything, and so it's really super exposed to the oxidative stress, and there's all these electrons being pulled out of it. And I know some people like to make their smoothie and then put it in the refrigerator and drink it 3 hours later. And you can look and you'll see that the color has changed, especially maybe on the top layer. And that's from oxidation, which, that's what we're trying to prevent by eating these foods that have these molecules that can donate electrons to us so that we stop oxidizing so quickly.
Mm-hmm. What does a typical dinner look like for you when you are catching dinner?
Well, I in the last 6 months, I've definitely been very good about eating like 2 to 3 meals a day. I've started incorporating a little more meat this year, but I did spend the last 5 years being mostly vegetarian, vegan. Just trying it out as an experiment. I definitely cook a lot of vegan / vegetarian foods. A lot of my dinners, maybe not be vegan because I like butter. I like butter a lot. People like to call me the butter thief, and I really, really love it when people call me that. But what does it typically look like? Well, recently I've been making a lot of chana masala. That's garbanzo beans in a tomato paste dish with an array of different Ayurvedic spices like turmeric and ginger and coriander, and I grind it all up with pestle and mortar and throw it in. I limit my garlic and onion intake, not because I don't like garlic and onion and don't realize that they have healing properties to them, but I look at them more as medicines. And if you're constantly taking a medicine, first off, you're going to build a tolerance to it, so it's not going to be as effective. Second, you're not supposed to always take medicine. Medicines eventually become poisons when you're taking them too much. And our culture is certainly oversaturated with garlic and onion. So I try to limit how much I put in my dishes. Cook with a lot of okra. Man, I make a lot of Hispanic food. I love tamales. I love making tamales. Yeah. It's really, I mean, man, I can make a cookbook with all the dishes that I make. I cook for myself a lot of the times. I do like to go out and eat, though. I am a foodie. I have a lot of good reviews on Yelp and things like that. I like, let's see, I like the Indian foods. I like the ethnic foods. Take me to an Ethiopian restaurant. I know everything to buy. In fact, you take me to any restaurant, I'll tell you what to get. In fact, I do that when I'm traveling. They don't want anybody ordering the food but me because I know what everybody wants.
Wow. So you got a reputation within the tour. It sounds like a pretty good reputation. There's alternative reputations that aren't so good. So if this is the worst that you branded yourself, it's a pretty good space to be in.
Yeah.
What is your experience with organic versus non-organic, and how does that impact you when, in fact, you are on the road, you're traveling, and your ability to pick up or eat out is very limited?
It can be, and that's why I travel with practically an entire kitchen. I have multiple hot plates, a lot of pans. I go out, so even when I'm on the road, I'm cooking for myself. I go to Indian restaurants often. I know that I've mentioned this a lot, but their food's very balanced. They have a lot of phytochemicals. They use a lot of herbs, and they're one of the only restaurants you can go to and say, "Hey, can you cook that in butter and not vegetable oil?" Or Indian restaurants typically have ghee, which is just like better butter because they take out all the milk solids, Italian restaurants, they typically cook with olive oil and not vegetable oil. Everywhere else is cooking with vegetable oil. And if I had one piece of health information to depart, is get away from cooking with polyunsaturated fats. They oxidize really quickly. They have very long fatty acid chains. They're not short chains like coconut and saturated fats. And so they have all these breaks in their molecular chain. And this allows for it to degrade and oxidize. And when you're taking in an oxidized oil, that is you oxidize very quickly, and our brain is made mostly out of fat. So what do you think is the first thing oxidizing? Your brain.
Right. What do you think about cooking? What do you think about cooking in let's say coconut oil versus olive oil?
Olive oil is mainly a monounsaturated fat. It's good to be cooked at maybe low temperatures. And I think that olive oil is great in Italian cuisines. And as long as it's not reaching that smoke point.
But how do we know?
Olive oil is still probably better raw.
How do we know when olive oil is not reaching the smoke point if we're eating in a restaurant? Doesn't it put us at risk to an extent?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
I grew up, I didn't grow up, but when 10, 15 years ago, I was eating mostly a Mediterranean diet. Maybe less than that, but
It's good food.
but olive oil for cooking can be somewhat compromising you because of the carcinogenics that once you're above certain smoke point, it's not healthy for you. We switched to coconut oil, and I've had some great success. What I wanted to ask you, when was the last time you got your lipid panel checked, being that you love butter and sounds like you consume a lot of it? How's it impacted you?
Lipid panel. Well, I did get my blood test like 6 months ago, and the doctor was like, "You're perfect everywhere." So, but I don't think I got an actual lipid model. So I can't say there. Now, with butter though, the fatty acid chains are medium chain and smaller, so it's very similar to coconut actually. Coconut oil is mainly monolaurin and then all of the crupic acids. So the crupic fats are crupic means goat, Capricorn, Capra, so crupic, and those smaller chain fats are just easier to burn, so they give a lot of energy. So let's say you're eating a lot of butter and you're not working out. Well, then you're not burning your energy. So, and you're just accumulating. And so you might have a lot. Yeah.
The only thing I could think of in this moment about butter, at one point, my eldest boy was senior in college, and he was a server at a local restaurant in town. This is in Belmont Shore, Long Beach, California. He worked at an Italian restaurant on the main street. And one day he came home because he started to pay attention to the back kitchen.
Oh,
and
yeah.
how cooks were cooking. And he came home one day. He said, "Dad, are you aware that at La Strada, they actually put butter in their marinara sauce?" And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And he goes, "No." He goes, "Because he used to bring home a lot of takeout after a shift for the family." And at that point, I was avoiding high fat for cholesterol reasons. And so that was an awakening to me that I can't assume that an Italian restaurant is not cooking with butter. So if I'm going to eat Italian food out, I could ask, is the sauce cooked with butter? Whether or not they're going to disclose it or not. But I wasn't sure if you had ever experienced that some restaurants do put butter in their tomato sauce.
I've never heard that. I only ever hear vegetable oil, which is mainly canola and soybean. Yeah. And I mean, going to restaurants like even the Chart House, which the Chart House is a very expensive seafood and steak house. And even when I go there, or when I go to Maestro's or, other very expensive steakhouses, and I ask them, "What are you cooking your vegetables in?" It's typically vegetable oil. Almost always. No, always vegetable oil.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So how do you manage that for yourself? How do you avoid that? Do you ask them to make something differently for you? Or?
I ask them to cook it in butter. Yeah. I love coconut oil. I travel with coconut oil. I cook with coconut oil all the time. But cholesterol. First off, I don't want to lower my cholesterol. I want my high density cholesterol to be good. I want my low density to be low, and the high density typically will hit into the low density and break it apart. But cholesterol is a sterol, which is it's one molecular bond from being testosterone. So I'm not trying to lower my testosterone levels. And I think that it does seem that there's this whole big thing trying to get people to lower their testosterone levels and maybe even shrink our gonads with all this soy and all this estrogen producing foods. Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
I'm not afraid of cholesterol. And in fact, in August of 2017, there was a study that was released that showed that women who have higher levels of cholesterol have lower rates of breast cancer, a very significant percentage, actually. And then in the Lancet magazine, and this was what, 2013, they showed that elderly people above the age of 65 who had higher cholesterol had higher life expectancies.
Exactly. I'm going to send you a link after we're off live. I just have stepped into a new care for some aggressive work to be done for my own health under the care of Dr. Jack Wolfson. I don't know if you've heard of him or of his book, Paleo Cardiologist, but I'll send you a couple of his YouTube videos where he talks about the cholesterol is not your problem.
Yeah, it's not.
Well, what I'd like to do is, first of all, I'd like to thank you for coming into the studio today. We're almost on the hour. And so to respect your time, I know you've been on the road. I think you said, well, about 20 hours or so.
Yeah.
I appreciate you stepping into the studio and diving into nutrition. I am interested for you to share perhaps some closing thoughts as to the choices that you have made in your life today, which is very different than the choices that what you were taught as a child growing up in your home. Why your life is different, and perhaps maybe someone will hear something that will resonate with them as far as how you've opted to live a healthier lifestyle than what you saw your parents living, and why this has been a good ride for you.
Where you stumble, that's where you'll find your treasures. You have to find your own purpose. So typically we suppress ourselves, and we're shoving ourselves down, and we think that the things that make us weak, like exposing our vulnerabilities, that's like a weakness, when really it can be a strength. And so where you stumble, that's where your treasure is at. So yeah, where you're finding difficulties in your life, maybe take a closer look at that and see how you can take that murkiness and bloom a lotus petal. Where can you change your perspective and stop seeing a broken world, but seeing a complete and whole world? And a whole version of yourself. Stop seeing yourself as broken. Yeah. There's that famous quote by Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world. Well, everybody's seeing the world broken and seeing themselves as so great. But the world's not broken. The world's a beautiful place. It might be a self-devouring universe, but there's a lot of beauty and there's a lot of ugliness. And when you blend it together, you have existence, and it's in balance. And it's up to you to choose. What side do you want to be on? See both perspectives, but choose the good. Choose the life.
You make it sound so easy. If you were given the gift of providing a roadmap in this moment, how do we get from there to here?
Follow your bliss. I mean, enjoy the journey. Stop wallowing in your own bullshit. That's one for sure. You know, we're our own greatest enemy, truly. And really, it's like we want it to be hard, you know? And so we get in our own way. And really, we just need to follow our bliss. I don't think that drugs are people following their bliss. That's people running away from their bliss and needing to gain some type of external satisfaction when really we're a chemical machine. I mean, we can produce everything that we need. You can have the best high of your life just by learning what your body can do. So, let's see. Self-discovery. Take an interest into what the self is and study the self. And you'll find a lot of bliss and beauty and all that. And you might find your own purpose. I don't think that the universe necessarily plants you, or God plants you in this life with a purpose. I think that you bloom into your own purpose, and God maybe wants to see what you will do with that potentiality. What purpose will you make for yourself? So, yeah. How to get from point A to point B? Find a purpose. Find your treasure.
Wow. 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 You nailed it. Evan, how old are you, if I may ask? And you could set a boundary with me in this moment. We've gotten this far.
I'm 30.
Damn, dude. Wow. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. You are just an incredible young man. And I could say that with all due respect, because I'm a few decades older than you are.
You're looking really good. Your skin looks great.
Thank you. Well, it's vitamin D because I'm out there every morning and I hike the mountaintops. And
oh yeah, my mom lived out there in Scottsdale. It's very, very beautiful. I have family out there. It's very nice.
Well, now, if you find yourself out here, now you have a hiking buddy to do some serious hiking together. We got some amazing trails out here.
Yeah,
and I hit
I
them every
love the
morning.
Sonora Desert. It's such a beautiful place.
You know what? In this moment, there is nothing more beautiful than you. You are you are a beautiful man.
You too.
And, thank you.
I can see all the smile on your face. How much you smile in your life. It's like it's imprinted on there.
Let me tell you, my friend, it wasn't that way. Just a short 3.5 years ago, I was near death. And I was in pain, emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual. And I had a rebirth.
Yeah.
I had to find my own purpose. I had no idea who I was. When I woke up and I was released from the hospital near death, I had no idea who I was. I only knew who I had become. And therein lies the incredible journey of healing. But my friend, at your age, to have as much knowledge and understanding, intuition and wisdom that you have, if you haven't found your purpose yet, and I'm going to ask you that maybe will be your closing question, you certainly are on your path, and with a very, very clear idea how to take care of yourself, how to make healthy choices for yourself, and how to live in inner peace and contentment and joy and bliss as it appears you do in this moment. And I say this because, you see, I've got 3 sons. My oldest boy is about to turn 30, and he's on his own path, and I love that boy. My firstborn, as much as I love my second and third, but he's almost your age, and I smile because the hope for me is that I hope that he's on a similar path to finding his purpose in his life,
Yeah.
so that he could live a life of contentment and inner peace, ultimately
Right.
in serenity.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
How is your life different today as a as a 30-year-old man that has a clear understanding as far as your path, what is your purpose today?
My purpose today?
That's all you know what? That's all we have. We're
Yeah.
not guaranteed tomorrow. So what is your purpose today?
I'm gonna go have some fun with my tour buddies.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we just got to Salem, Oregon, so we're gonna go see the town, have some food, you know, maybe go hiking. You know, it's Oregon, a lot of beautiful
Yes.
trees, a lot of natural chi and prana to breathe in, do some breathing practices, stretch it out. You know, take a moment to see the paradise that we live in.
There's beautiful paradise along the Oregon coast, but there's also inland Central Oregon and Bend, Oregon as a beautiful place to be. And of course the river. And I mean, there's so many incredible spots. Well, Evan, it's that time. I want to thank you for joining me today.
Before we go, I would like to mention the Chi Revolution tour one more time. You know, we just did San Diego. We're here in Salem. We're going to Linwood. At the end of August, let's see, that's what's the Austin tour? It's the 23rd, right?
Yeah.
We're going to be in Austin. We're also going to Tucson. I wanted to get to Tucson and New Mexico because you're there in Scottsdale.
Yeah, I'm in an hour and a half from Tucson. I've hiked in Tucson, but and my freshman roommate from college, actually from New York, lives out in Tucson now. But regardless, when you come out here, you got to just let me know in advance. And if you don't make it to Scottsdale, I'll make a trip to Tucson just to see you and give you a nothing but a hug of unconditional love, my friend.
September 21st through the 23rd, we'll be in Tucson. At the Tucson Convention Center, which is where they do the Gem Show, which is the biggest gem show.
Yeah, I've been there. I was there before I lived here. I went to the Gem Show 2 years ago, I think. Yeah. So are you going to be here during the Gem Show?
No, but we'll be doing the Chi Revolution in the same building on September 21st through the 23rd.
Okay. All right. I'll reach out to you.
Yeah, and I'll send you a message and give you some of the information. If anybody wants to know about Chi Revolution, just go to chirevolution.com or qigong.com. That's Chi with a QI Revolution or QI Gong, GON.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
Really fun stuff. And I've actually had my hands in quite a few different projects recently. I'm helping with a lot of different retreat properties, helping with different retreats. So there's a retreat property in Desert Hot Springs that I'll be doing my own retreats at. And then I've also been helping with a retreat center in Port Angeles, which is the northwest corner of Washington. Yeah. And then also a retreat center in Hawaii on Big Island on the Hilo side. So yeah, find me on Facebook. My name's Evan Mueller. If you want to know anything more about nutrition, breath facilitation, Qigong, retreats, let me know.
Life purpose.
Yep.
I think it could help a few people. Evan, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining me. For those of you that have been with us for this entire show or the 2-hour marathon, including Jason Watts, Arlene Rothman, my mom coming in from Florida, Kirsten, Mary Kelly, Tito, Rosario, thank you for joining me today. It's so good to see you. Join us. Matt Kelly, one of my old fraternity brothers, not that he's old, but he was a fraternity brother with me. Pam O'Donnell, thank you for joining us. Dwayne, Barbara Douglas, who's going to be on a show Saturday, my brother-in-law, David Littman coming in from New York, Chetna, and whoever else has joined us and stayed with us. Thank you for supporting the work that Debbie G, Karen Palmer, Josh Richard, John Fiore, Lizbeth, myself, that we all do through the Spirituality Gone Wild. Without you showing up, we wouldn't have a reason to be here. So thank you for joining us and supporting the work that we do. And Evan, enjoy the balance of your day. And we'll catch you next time on Real Men, Real Talk, Raw. Thank you.
Thank you.